Hello and welcome to Film Seizure. My name is Chuck Moore. With me, as always, are Wayne and Garth.
Party on, Chuck.
I guess we need a little bit of levity before we start this episode.
Yes, a little bit. That's Jason and Jeff, as you heard. And as Jason alluded to, we're doing a movie that isn't a whole lot of fun.
But it's a whole lot of good. I know
so
he's
too.
got opinions, but
I think so too. We're talking about David. Oh, go ahead.
Man, it's good. It's a well-made movie, but it's punishing.
It is punishing.
And it's very, very cynical.
yes.
And that cynical movie is Seven by David Fincher.
It's not 6. It's not 8.
Nope.
It's not even 8.5.
Was this one of the first movies to do that? The stupid promotional title with
The number
in the title.
Probably.
It always had
Probably.
the 7 as the
I'm
V.
not writing that, and when I'm not putting that anywhere.
Well, nobody does. I found that interesting. Like
Yeah.
whenever it's referenced in print, it's always just 7 spelled out.
Good.
But in the movie, the title card and everything, it has the 7 in the thing. But 95 Fincher.
7 in.
This is really kind of the first time we heard from Fincher, right? Like, or at least his breakthrough. I don't know if it's his first.
Well, it's not his first movie. His first movie was Alien 3.
Oh yeah, good point.
yeah.
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 Well, I like that one for the most part.
I mean, it's fine for what it is.
Yeah.
But-
It could have been more.
Yes.
Should have been more.
He took a lot of chances with the.
It's a movie that suffered from studio interference and budget cuts.
Yeah, fair.
Yep.
All right, but this one I don't think did suffer from any kind of studio interference. If it did, I'd be really
I'm
surprised.
shocked if it did.
Yeah, it's really kind of amazing this movie got made
But
by a Hollywood studio.
But it is New Line.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
So
fair. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, New Line will do the weird stuff and the horror stuff and the weird horror stuff,
And also horror stuff.
right?
Yes.
With like knife dildos.
Yes. New Line, whenever I saw New Line back in the day, I got excited
Yeah.
about whatever I was about to see.
Well, it was going to be different, at least,
Right.
You know. So, yeah, 1995, September of 1995.
Yep.
Looks like something from the 70s. Feels like something from the 70s.
Yeah, it does. It also has kind of like a almost like a 50s vibe to it at times. I think it's some of the noir elements of it,
Well, I think that's where. Yeah, I think that's where.
and like the nameless city and all of that. You know, that's a big noir trope.
Yeah, because it's like the whole movie. It's like, I swear this is New York City, and then they leave Los Angeles.
Yeah, I felt like it was California the whole time, like L.A. area, but
But it doesn't rain that much in L.A.
sure, fair. But the look of it, like the tint of the movie,
Fair enough. Yeah.
gives me more of like a Southern
Well,
California vibe.
where they find the gluttony dude, that looks like something in a shitty part south of LA
Yeah,
or something,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Sure. But but it could have been Chicago. It could have been Springfield.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it could have been, a lot of different places. And that's, there's an attitude to it that feels East Coast, but a look that looks West Coast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the 50s thing also, I mean, that's where the Morgan Freeman character
Yeah.
feels like he's still wearing the raincoat. He's wearing the fedora. Brad Pitt looks like something from the 90s, and then you cut the difference and everything's happening in the 70s.
Yeah, and they do a good job of that, like making Morgan Freeman an old school kind of detective who
He
approaches
gets
things.
everybody's nerves. at the
Yes, he
beginning.
does get on everyone's nerves, but he approaches everything from kind of a, I want to say educational, but that's not the word, like a scholarly aspect. Whereas Brad Pitt is more of a off the cuff kind of, hopefully I get lucky kind of detective.
Well, yeah. One of my notes that I put at the very end is that you have the Somerset, which is the Morgan Freeman character. He's got the mind of a detective, like what you would think, like a Sherlock Holmes or a classic style kind of detective who knows things, who knows where to go find out about things and use that. Whereas Mills, the Brad Pitt character, is the muscle memory of a beat cop.
Yeah.
And that's where they came from. Like, it's clear that Morgan Freeman came from someplace other than a beat position.
Probably, yeah.
Because you find out that Mills he worked his way up to detective by being just a normal cop, you know.
Right.
So, you know, it feels as though Somerset comes from a criminology background. Mm-hmm. He kind of understands the criminology of something. Brad Pitt thinks everybody's crazy, which is a bad way to cop. That's a real bad way to be detective.
Well, you're never going to really understand any motivation.
You're only ever going to get lucky.
Yeah.
He's reactive versus proactive.
Exactly.
And he's also just not as intellectual. He's just not as cerebral as Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, he is he would be like he's a jarhead as opposed to somebody who's like a general who knows if we do this, it's not going to go well. Whereas the idiot will just rush in. Right. And we see that a lot in this movie.
For good reason.
Yeah, but they do also kind of infect one another a little bit until the most important time not to, and then they kind of spin off into their own personal hells at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. There is definitely some personal hell happening at the end, but I guess we just need to wait to talk about the ending. Because Morgan Freeman's character has an arc, but I don't totally buy it. But we'll get there.
Oh, I mean, I think the arc is that maybe he has a little bit more humanity than he does what we see at the beginning. But it's a bad last case to go out on.
Yeah.
Let's start with that case.
Yeah.
Let's start with that case. We have Morgan Freeman, who's on his way out, right? He's got 7 days left in his tenure as a nameless city detective. And
I do like that this is kind of a spin on the trope of, oh, you expect this guy to die, but
there's a lot that you expect to happen in this movie that doesn't.
Right.
Oh, the trope of that's my last day on the job.
Right.
And he gets killed. Yeah.
But they're investigating. Well, he is investigating, shows up at a murder, and Mills has just been promoted from whatever city he's in. We don't know where he was.
Yeah, he
before.
moved there. Yeah.
But he moves to the city to investigate. He immediately gets questioned by Morgan Freeman, like, why, or Somerset. He's like, why did you show up here? Why did you choose here? And he doesn't really have a good answer for it other than, I want to make a difference, which is like kind of superficial answer, it feels like at the.
Well, it's a good answer if you know what difference you want to make. I don't think he knows what difference he wants to make. I think he just wants to go riding in like, I think he wants to ride in like a,
Wyatt Earp.
Yeah, like a Wyatt Earp.
He's very much a cowboy, and he's had some successes in the past that probably elevates his value of himself, right, more than what it is. Because, like you said, he's probably gotten lucky a lot, or maybe not a lot, but a couple times in big cases, which is why he's here.
Right.
And Morgan Freeman is a pretty cynical guy about most things, and he's on his way out. Brad Pitt's on his way in. He's kind of questioning his, what difference do you think you can make? I've been doing this for 30 years, and I don't feel like I've made any difference.
Right.
In fact, things are worse. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not gotten any better around here, and it's not going to.
Yeah, and that's his whole thing is that he's lost. Somerset has lost the understanding of the world that he operates within.
Yeah.
Which, I suspect if you have been investigating murder for probably 20 years like he has, I bet it follows you home.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
And then you begin to question there's a kind of a almost theological or metaphysical question about the goodness of people throughout this entire thing. What is inherently good and evil, and Somerset has kind of figured out, it's like here in the city, like he talks about like what his plans are when he retires. It's like, well, maybe I'll go be a farmer, which would probably be the world that he would like to picture still exists.
Right. And he kind of operates outside of good and evil. He has no, there's no like morality to him necessarily. He's just kind of a meticulous investigator, not 100% by the book, because they don't, like, Brad Pitt immediately questions, like, we don't take vitals here.
Yeah.
Like, and the cops are like, if this guy's not dead, he would have stood up by now. But
Yeah.
That also to me is like Brad Pitt trying to insert himself into his new position of authority.
Right.
Well, he's trying to impress people.
Yeah, and it's immediately rubbing people the wrong way. And
Yeah,
even
Freeman's like,
Morgan Freeman, who is a guy who asks a lot of questions that people get annoyed by, is kind of like, what are you trying to accomplish?
yeah,
from
what's
here
the goal with that conversation?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, because I mean, again, he's always questioning everything. Like, what would be the goal of somebody to commit the crime? What would be the goal of somebody having that conversation? He lives very lean. There's, it's like he does not it does not appear that he has anything in his life except for a metronome and a dartboard.
Yeah.
And everything else, he if it doesn't have any purpose to what's going on right now, get it out of here. It doesn't matter. Which is maybe what a good detective would be. I mean,
Well, you get the feeling he's been stripped down too. Like, things that maybe mattered to him before don't matter at all anymore.
yeah.
Like he's just been beaten by the 20 years or whatever.
Yeah. And that's because he does reveal later that he did at one point in time have a relationship, but that's, he's lost everything that makes him human.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas Brad Pitt is all id and all human, and he makes mistakes.
Yep.
He makes real bad mistakes.
But we don't know this yet, but the first sin that we're introduced to is gluttony. You have this very large man who's got his face in a bowl of spaghetti.
Like I did earlier.
Yeah.
That was me earlier.
Spaghetti for
Big old bowl.
I was gonna say, did you come in, Chuck, and find Jeff with his face and his spaghetti and be like, he's probably dead.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna bother taking any vitals.
Yeah.
And then Jeff just like popped up, face full of spaghetti sauce.
So I just eat my spaghetti.
That's how I eat my spaghetti.
I don't see
like the spaghetti eating contest.
Yeah. Never mind that I'm also bound. Don't worry about that. That's how I eat my spaghetti.
But yeah, he's been bound, like you said.
They don't know that immediately.
No, it's kind of a funny revelation to Brad Pitt because he's like, how do we know this is murder? Who said this was murder? And Morgan Freeman's like, nobody said that.
Right. That's why we're here. We got to detect that.
Yeah, we have to determine that. And they do. They find out that he's been bound. There's a bucket under the table with
a bucket of puke.
Yep, bucket of puke. So it looks like he's been at this endeavor of eating for a while, and it just killed him.
They figured out like maybe up to 12 hours.
Yeah.
Oof. Oof. Death by eating. Because what they find out later, they take the guy to the morgue, and the other guy there says, well, it's kind of a classic. Like Brad Pitt is also a little bit of the of the type of character who is a kind of stereotypical. Because like they go in and the morgue guy is telling him, it's like, well, you see this and right here above the metatarsal, whatever he says. And Brad Pitt's like, whoa. In plain English, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. It's like, all right, Dennis Franz. But anyway, he explains that the guy basically ate until he exploded. He burst his own stomach, and that's what really caused his death. And the whole while also Brad Pitt's like, well, somebody didn't like the fat fuck. It doesn't really have any, like, while while Somerset is very emotionless, he does want to try to figure out why something happens. And to do that, he has to understand that things don't, I mean, like, this doesn't feel like this would be just a revenge on a fat guy.
Right.
And to dismiss it as such, it is not going to help.
Well, he even says that he left and came back because they could tell from receipts that were left.
That from the store.
That's not, a normal thing for a killer to do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like that goes well beyond a crime of passion.
Yeah.
Right.
Or, I mean, this was there was a lot of thought put into this.
Yeah. And Somerset tells the captain, like, he's too green for this. You shouldn't have him on the case. And I'm leaving in a week. You shouldn't have me on the case.
Yeah, I don't want this to be my last case.
This is not going to go well.
And Arlie Ermy was like, well, fuckers, you're going to do it.
Yeah, but before that, though, I think they realized that. Don't they realize? No, that the plastic was later. Never mind.
It is later because they
Morgan Freeman is he feels like the act itself has a meaning. Like this is the beginning of something. And yeah, definitely, this Brad Pitt it's too soon for him, is what he says. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, it's like, well, it's just one dead fat guy in a crappy apartment. What do you mean this is the beginning of something? It's like, trust me, this is the beginning of something. And then he just goes back and starts pecking away on his little electronic typewriter on his report, and Brad Pitt is sent to the next case. So this is where we start jumping around on these first two, and the next one is the lawyer who is doubled over on his knees, and greed is written in blood. And while Brad Pitt is looking at that, that's when Arlie Ermy comes in. It's like, they found this in the stomach. It was plastic or some sort of plastic that has been fed to the victim.
Yep.
And that brings Somerset back into everything. And so he goes back to the scene of the crime, and he realizes, because he's very eagle-eyed in this very dark room, that next to the refrigerator, there are notches in the laminate or whatever from the refrigerator being pulled out. And behind the refrigerator is gluttony written, probably in puke.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Is puke or spaghetti sauce?
Yeah. And also a little note from Paradise Lost, I think.
It's from Milton.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something about how the long road that basically it's saying that this has been long thought about.
Right.
Which now, once he kind of begins to realize there is something more to this, he still kind of wants to stay out of it. He doesn't really want to help Mills out. He doesn't think Mills should be on that case with the lawyer. Shaft shows up and says, we didn't do it.
The district attorney.
The district attorney says, well, we didn't cause this, which I thought that was weird. That was a cynical thing.
Yeah.
The reporter asking if the district attorney's office had anything to do with this murder. That's weird.
Yeah,
that is weird.
Yeah, I mean, you get a sense of there's corruption. Right?
Oh, there is. This is a bad town.
Yeah. This Murderville. They live in Murderville.
It's Murderville, New California, York.
And that corruption is used in two ways. It's used by the investigators, and it's also used by the killer.
Yeah.
Later.
I think it's important at this point to note that the detectives aren't really detecting. They're following pretty clearly laid out clues.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They only really do like one true act of detecting in this movie, and it's important. But for the rest of the way, they're really just on a string. Like, they're being strung along this whole movie.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. John Doe, from moment one, has the upper hand.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is about the time where now Brad Pitt has taken over Somerset's office, and they're both sitting in there, and the phone rings, to which Brad Pitt looks at Morgan Freeman. It's like, hey, the phone's ringing. And Morgan Freeman looks back and is like, yeah, it comes with the office.
Yeah, package
deal. Like, it's yours.
There's a funny moment. There's a funny moment with a phone earlier too, where Arlie Ermy, the police captain, and Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are discussing that the cases are clearly linked, and that Brad Pitt is going to take it, and Morgan Freeman isn't, but he doesn't agree with it, right? But the phone rings at the desk.
Oh God!
Just keeps ringing and ringing at the desk, and Arlie Ermy finally answers it, and he says, "It's not even my desk," and he hangs up. That killed me. That's funny. Sort of like the only moments of humor in the movie.
They try to inject a few of those to give you a little bit of humor, but yeah, it's not always.
It's not always very funny,
right?
Yeah, because that was a good laugh. It's not even my desk, asshole. Meanwhile, somebody is dying on the other end.
Yeah, there's a whole nother movie out there based on that phone call being hung up.
And that's where it ended for that movie.
That's funny. But yeah, the phone ringing is Mills's wife, and she invites Somerset to dinner.
We do get one. There is one scene before that with Tracy, who's Gwyneth Paltrow, and Mills, and she is. They've just moved into town. She's trying to figure out. It's like, is this what we should have done? Is this really why are because she's even questioning why here? What's this place?
Right.
Why do you want to do what you do? So this is kind of basically her second involvement in this. She wants to talk to Somerset, which is funny because the whole time, like, Brad Pitt's like, I told you not to call me here. It's like, trying to be like real sheepish about like, it's like, no, don't call me at work or whatever. Yeah. Like he's trying to protect his machismo a little bit. And then, but she just wants to talk to Somerset. And so he hands the phone off to him, and she invites him to dinner. And he just goes back to his work, and he's like, yeah, I'm coming over to dinner tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, your wife invited me.
Late dinner at your place. And he's like, what?
Yeah. Right.
So very Brad Pitt in that scene.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So they end up going back to Mill's place, which I'm convinced at this point they never actually go back to sleep.
Yeah, they probably don't.
Because it's a late dinner, so I'm guessing late supper is about 9.
They fall asleep waiting for a fingerprint.
That's true. Yeah. Really, yeah, that's kind of funny too.
Yep.
So yeah, they have dinner. This is one of the few moments of humanity from Morgan Freeman at all, and that is
and he's laughing at misfortune.
Yes, he is, because they bought a house, or they bought an apartment that they should have seen. Now, if Mills was anything like Somerset, he would have known instantly not to take this apartment.
Right?
Why would you see an apartment 2 or 3 times for only 5 minutes at very specific times? That's because the subway comes by and rattles everything.
Yep.
To which, of course, Brad Pitt's reactionary to it. He's pissed. He hates it, and and Somerset just laughs about the, what was it?
A soothing, relaxing, vibrating home.
Oh, yes. And which kind of lightens the mood for everything. But then after dinner, he wants to take a look at the pictures from the lawyer's greed room. And he's like, well, you got to try to find something that you can hyper focus on.
Right.
And then you run that all the way through until it means nothing anymore. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get another beer. You want one? And he's like, no, I'll take wine. To which Brad Pitt comes back with a big tumbler full of wine.
Yeah, so he gives it to him in a drinking glass, basically. Like a normal drinking glass.
Which also is another one of those subtle things that Brad Pitt is not refined. He doesn't understand the details.
He's a hammer.
Things. Yes, and everything looks like a nail.
Morgan Freeman gives it a really good, like, subtle, puzzled look.
Yeah,
it's just a flash, but it's there. It's
at the very end of that scene.
Yeah,
yeah, because he looks at it and is like, huh, and then he double takes it. Yeah, and then, but what they discover is something that we saw earlier, which is the wife of the lawyer had glasses drawn on by his blood. Also, that this is a crime of attrition, which is basically it's the idea that he was forced to confess to a sin, not because of religion, but because there was a gun to his head.
Right.
And that the killer wanted a pound of flesh from him, and he took it.
What's that from?
Dante.
No,
Fuck.
No.
No, not fucking Dante.
You're gonna screw up my joke. It's from Merchant of Venice, and then you're supposed to say, "I've never seen it."
Well, I've never
Because
seen it.
that's the Brad Pitt line.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Fucking Dante comes later.
No, it's a little earlier, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because we should probably discuss that, because Morgan Freeman, or Somerset, taking the scholarly approach, gathers a whole bunch of information and puts it in a nice envelope for Mills, because at that point I think he thinks he's done. He's not going to be involved.
Right.
And he gives it to him, and Mills goes and gets all the
Cliffs Notes.
Cliffs
versions,
Notes
yeah.
for the book. That's
You're right,
what
because
it
he
is.
tries to read Dante's Inferno. He's like, fucking Dante, and throws the book.
That's probably about how 90% of people approach that book. you
Right.
But when they have that conversation in Mills's place, he kind of impresses
Oh, that's
Somerset
right.
a little bit. He's like, "Oh, you read it?" He's like, "Yeah, kind of."
Yeah, it's parts of it. Because I also really like that scene in the library with the guards. He's like, here you are with a whole multitude of knowledge, and you just sit here and play poker all night.
Right.
It's like, well, how about this for class? And they play the Bach music,
Bach.
which is really nice juxtaposition, because it's a beautiful piece of music against these people
library.
in a beautiful library against people reading and looking at horrific things. It's kind of this movie in a nutshell.
And there's that juxtaposition of Morgan Freeman doing research in a library after hours to classical music, and Brad Pitt at home drinking PBR, poring over photographs.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
He can't see beyond the pictures.
Right.
Right. And
Yep.
Morgan Freeman can.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is when they realize, like, okay, well, the wife is supposed to either have seen something or she's supposed to see something. So we need to go talk to her. At this point, again, it's now middle of the night, I assume.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's Gwyneth Paltrow went to bed hours ago.
Yeah.
Because she gets up and notices that they're gone. And they show up at the safe house where the wife is being kept by the New California York police. And they
Murder Cal York.
yeah, right. And they go to and they go to talk to her, and like Brad Pitt again is hammering away. It's like, look at these pictures. What do you see? What's here? And she's broken up, and like Somerset's like, take it back a notch. It's like,
Well, actually, Mills is ready to give up because she is saying, "I can't do this now," and Somerset's like, "We need this now." Very like discreetly.
yeah,
You need to do this regardless of how she feels. But yeah, maybe take it back a notch.
right. It's like, just because he is kind of like one picture after the other, and then she finally comes to a picture of a painting on the wall. She's like, well, the painting's upside down.
Right.
So they go to the office, notice that the painting's back has been replaced so that it can hang upside down.
Right.
And so they cut it open, and to which Mills is surprised that he has a switchblade.
Yeah, which is weird. That's kind of weird. Why would he be surprised about the switchblade? But
Well, why would a cop carry a switchblade?
I guess I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah,
Close Encounters.
I guess. Knife safety. I don't know.
But Brad Pitt, in his usual way of stumbling onto something, it's kind of luck, right? He says, well, he didn't paint the thing,
Right.
which gives Morgan Freeman the idea that maybe there's something on the wall.
To which then he gets up onto the desk or whatever, and it's like, oh, great, Somerset's now climbing the furniture. And he brushes over and he realizes that there's fingerprints. And the fingerprints spell,
Help me.
yes. Trent Reznor must have been there.
I was thinking it was The Fly.
Well, it could have been Trent Reznor as the Fly.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That's scary.
Oh, I know why he carries a knife. Because doesn't he say that he's only ever taken his gun out 2 times or something like that
with the intent
to shoot it?
Yeah.
So, but he doesn't mention all the people he stabbed.
Right.
Yeah, that's coming up soon. That whole explanation of how they approach that part of their job.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because later, at one point, Brad Pitt draws his gun and never puts it back away. So and so they discover his help me, and then they like, okay, well, let's run these prints. To which then they're in the guy's office with running the prints, and they're talking, and they're
annoyed as shit with
and he's like, hey, sometimes this takes 3 days, so maybe ruminate someplace else.
I might want to wait elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so they wait right outside.
I really liked this shot, like the long hallway shot.
Oh, I love it. This is
conversation.
This is the moment I said they don't make movies that look like this anymore.
Yeah, because it doesn't
Yes,
need to
they
be
do.
focused on their face. It's like, yes, they do.
Because David Fincher makes
Well,
them.
fair enough, but who else? Not many.
But this is a very David Fincher style movie. I mean,
Sure.
these are early fingerprints of the type of
We see it
composition he's going to continue to use in his career.
Right, and the grime and the grit of this movie, we're going to see it again in Fight Club.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And the palette alone is Fight Club all over it.
And to be quite honest, this movie inspired countless copycats.
Sevensploitation, I called it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I mean, there's people are still trying to make movies that look like this movie,
or at least feel like this movie. Probably the most successful one's 8mm.
Was that really successful?
Well, but I mean, the one that's people would say, "Oh yeah, that's a good movie."
Yeah,
one that people would still watch 25 years later.
I wouldn't.
That's another story for another time. A good one, but for another time. No, that's no, you're right though. I mean, it's like, hell, the movie Copycat, which came out around the same time as this, looks like this, just not as good as this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, this was kind of in the zeitgeist, this kind of look and feel.
There's even like the supernatural versions of this, like Fallen with Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah,
is a fucking 7 knockoff, but it's got that weird. Like,
I would even say End of Days.
Yeah, for
is
sure.
a knockoff of this.
Oh, most definitely the way it looks for sure. Yep.
Huh. I wonder what Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been like in 7. Wait, that's End of Days. Never mind.
He could have been. He could have been the. Oh my God, he's ridiculous in End of Days. It's like that's his Cobra.
What's in the box?
It really is. Like that's his Cobra movie.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. Anyway,
where were we? Oh yeah, so he's outside. They're outside in that hallway.
Yeah,
and this is just and again, I think the reason why this triggered this they don't make movies that look like this anymore is the fact that buildings don't look like this anymore. It's dirty. There's a fucking Brad Pitt's gonna go to sleep on the bench, and he's got to move the ashtray that's probably loaded with fucking butts in it. And it's just everything about it. Like, I wanted to wash my hands.
Yeah.
After a lot of the interiors of this movie.
Yeah, everything is gross.
It is, and it makes it realistic. But a lot of movies 10 years after this try to put a sheen on everything.
Damn Canadians.
I know. A shitty sheen.
Sorry.
That's another story for another time too.
Has that not made it into an episode?
I think it was in an episode. Maybe.
No. That was in the chat.
Sorry, everybody. Strike that from the conversation.
Well, one of these days we'll watch a shitty Canadian movie. Okay,
we can talk all about it.
We can talk all about that shitty sheen.
Killed me.
But they do get a hit, right? They get a hit
Yes.
on the fingerprints, and it turns out to be
a guy with a rap sheet a mile long, and he's got a lot of mental issues, which now immediately puts Brad Pitt forever for the rest of the movie on only crazy people do things.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Which
And
is
it also puts,
not good for a cop to think.
no, and it also puts the whole police department on this is our guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're very reactionary here instead of thinking beyond, like, why would this guy say help me behind a
that is where this movie to me starts veering off into the ridiculous
A little bit.
because yes, you're exactly right, Chuck. It's very clear this was intentional. I mean, they spelled it out in fingerprints. This is not their guy.
Right.
Right? They should probably approach this with a little more subtlety.
You've already been led a couple times, right?
Right.
Like both murder scenes have tried to point you somewhere.
Right. And Morgan Freeman, he's like, this doesn't feel right.
No, he's like,
He's the only one. And again, they're trying to enforce, his character and what he's about. But it's juxtaposed.
juxtaposed.
Thank you. Like, it's not just Brad Pitt at this point, but the entire police department. And that just feels weird to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, this is. I mean, we
But
could say
we do get the great line, swap before dicks.
right. Swap before
Johnson
dicks.
From John,
always
from
says
John
the best
McGinley.
lines.
Yeah. Well, this also probably, I mean, this is probably, and we can debate exactly how well this movie does it, but this definitely is trying to make a statement on, I think, how the law looks at people who are mentally unwell, that they are inherently dangerous, and that you need the entire force of the police to come down on them. And while, yeah, there are dangerous, unwell people, that's not that you can't think like that. This movie does this so much better than a movie from like 15 years before called Don't Answer the Phone, where the cop, hero of the fucking movie, keeps talking about how we don't need to know what these assholes who are crazy think, and like they just constantly are making fun of people who are psychiatrists and stuff. And it's like, holy shit. And it takes brute force to win that movie when it's like, that's bad. That's not good, guys.
Yeah.
But it's telling of what people think of people who have mental illness.
And this is where Brad Pitt came from,
yes,
right? Like he's
one of the
that
SWAT guys.
mentality.
Yeah, he would be one of the SWAT guys, and it's on the way there that he talks about how, you know, he watched one of his one of the other cops on this raid get shot in the arm, didn't even die. It's just he saw the violence of what happened when the guy got shot, and he kind of spun like a top, he said.
Yeah.
And then it made it seem like he like took revenge on like he saw that as this fucking guy is, he needed to be punished at that point. And it's like, that's not good either.
well, all of that, there's a lot of moments in this movie that are all little tiny hints about where we're going.
Yeah.
And what's going to be exploited about his personality.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he even does it. It's kind of a genius moment because it's right now, actually, after they, the SWAT, they discover the guy.
The Virgil something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember. I didn't write his name down.
Find out, they think he's dead. He sure looks dead.
Yeah, he's literally bones.
Sloth is written above the bed.
He's missing a hand.
Mm-hmm. This is probably the best scare in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Because it's sort of like that Aunt Zelda, or is it Sister Zelda from
Pet Sematary?
From
Aunt
Pet
Zelda.
Sematary. Yeah, Aunt Zelda. Yeah, it's kind of like that, right? Where this person looks dead, and then, oh my god,
Her sister. Yeah, it was.
oh my
sister.
god,
Yeah.
This guy's alive, actually, barely, but alive.
Well, yeah, because then, because it's California, who is John C. McGinley, who says something about it's like, oh, this fucking guy is, and then he breathes or he gasps for air, and he's like, he's fucking alive.
He falls into the chair behind him.
Yeah,
but that, I mean, they do even.
Well, they even
that.
treat that. It's like good for him that he's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously this guy's a victim also.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, he may be a bad dude or may have done bad because I think he was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But he was mentally ill.
Pederast.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Drug dealing pederast.
Yep. That's how he's described.
Yes.
Correctly.
And so, yeah, he's not a good dude, but in this case, he's a victim.
Right. I mean, there are pictures of a year-long degradation of his...
Exactly 1 year.
Yes, exactly 1 year to the day.
Yeah.
So this is like reinforcing Somerset's thing. Like this plan, there's something much larger in play here. And he even warns us very close to the scene. He's like, the ending of this is not going to be good. And that's as much for us as it is for...
buckle up, guys. This ain't going to be good.
Yeah, he's telling Mills, but he's also telling the audience. Like,
Yeah, because this is the halfway point of the movie.
And you have that next scene of the reporter that comes, and Brad Pitt acting like really aggressively against him.
Well, the whole time, yeah, because Morgan Freeman is like, you got to control your emotions because this is not going to go well.
And that's a really interesting moment because it's exactly foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But you don't know it at the time.
It's a test.
Yeah.
It's a test to make sure, because the plan is in motion and I need to see
if I'm going to be right.
If the plan is going to work.
Is this going to work? Yep. Is this the guy?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, so...
His voice in the scene is kind of hilarious, too, because he's kind of masking his voice for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I went back and watched it again because I'd forgotten that it was
Yeah, I
him.
forgot about that, too.
So I went back and watched it again after the movie and went like frame by frame, too. And it's kind of amazing how perfectly masked his face is.
Yeah.
In every shot, every frame of that. Yeah. Then I listened to it and I was like, yeah, it's clearly him, but you're right. They did a little bit.
He has a little tinge to his voice.
Yeah.
I did not forget it was him, but I've probably seen this movie.
You've seen it probably more than we have over the last 25 years. Yeah.
There's something interesting to be discussed when we get to the ending about Kevin Spacey.
Spoiler alert.
Well, we already mentioned him.
I know, I'm just kidding.
We already mentioned him. But his name, it wasn't in the opening credits.
No.
But yeah, let's talk. I'll hold it for later.
Yeah, I'm annoyed at the internet on this one too because I want to discuss that later.
You know what? I'm not annoyed by the internet. I found out last night that Kevin Spacey once played Jim Baker in a TV movie. Now I want to see it.
Oh, weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Bernadette Peters was Tammy Faye. I need to see this movie.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Love it.
All right.
Anyway, I'm going to go find that movie.
All right. We'll see you later, Jason. I'll handle it from here.
Where are we anyway? All right. So yeah, the altercation in the stairwell. Right? Yep. Then what the hell is next?
That's what I'm trying to remember. I think.
Oh, they go back because they want to interview the guy, the sloth victim.
Right.
And the doctor's just like, man, he's chewed off his own tongue. He couldn't talk even if he were mentally capable of talking because his brain is mush. Like he's been tortured for a year. He's beyond, he's just completely, totally damaged and he could die at like any moment.
And he's still got hell to go through. Like the worst has not happened for this guy.
Yeah, man, people really hate this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, man, it's like they're just piling on. And that's what I wrote the note here. The people in this city are mean.
They are. Everyone's mean.
Everyone is mean. Yeah.
But I think this is when
this is when I think Paltrow and Morgan Freeman meet.
Yeah.
She calls him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And she is basically just lamenting the move to the city, kind of hoping for him to tell her the city's okay, but he's not reassuring to her.
Oh
at
yeah,
all.
she wants someone to tell him that it's all going to be okay, and he's like, not. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. This place sucks.
Yeah,
this is essentially what he's saying. She tells him that she's pregnant, and she's concerned about raising a child there. She was a teacher upstate. Again, kind of like implying New York,
right?
But she was sixth grade, I think, or fifth grade, grade school teacher. She was looking for teaching jobs, but she's like, the conditions are terrible. Morgan Freeman asks, what about private schools? You get the impression that those might not be much better, or have their own problems,
right?
And she's concerned. She's concerned about raising a kid in this city. Where is it going to go to school? What kind of life is it going to have? She hates it there. She doesn't know anyone. Literally, her only friend besides her husband is Morgan Freeman, who she's met once. Right. And Morgan Freeman tells a story about the fact that he was once in a relationship, and his girlfriend was pregnant, and Morgan Freeman basically like pressured her into having an abortion because he had the same concerns, and he didn't want to bring another child into the world that he is clearly very at odds with and cynical about. and he says he doesn't even regret the decision so much. He's like, no, he says he's positive, 100% positive that he made the right decision, but he does sometimes wish he hadn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it tells her, whatever you choose, if you do choose, to have the baby, make sure you spoil it every chance you get, because this kid is going to need, some good in its life.
Right. And if you don't have the child, don't ever tell Mills.
Right.
That you were pregnant.
Yeah.
So she, for the rest of this movie, is still undecided. Apparently.
It's a good piece of acting by Gwyneth Paltrow in this. She was pretty well unknown at this point.
Yeah.
But she emotionally, she does a lot with her face in this scene. It's good.
Well, I don't think she ever really raises her voice. It's always this kind of down, like she's tortured.
Yeah.
They really probably should just move back to San Fran, Albany.
San Fran, Albany.
What about New York, Remento?
Well, either one. Yeah, either one's fine.
Buffalo-mento.
Buffalo-mento. That sounds like a good
Okolo.
hot Okolo.
Good.
Well, we've probably taken that as far as we can.
Oh boy.
I came back right at the right time. Didn't find that movie though, unfortunately.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah, so they have that conversation, and then there's another moment, I think, where Morgan Freeman or Mills and Somerset are talking, and the luck of Mills comes through again, because he says, just because the guy has a library card doesn't make him Yoda.
Yeah, he's like, wait, what'd you just say? Library card. Yeah. And it's like, oh, we need to go and see who's, these are the books that will talk about the 7 deadly sins.
Yep.
And what they find is one that was, what was it?
Well, what they find is they what's his name? Morgan Freeman calls in a favor with a guy, an FBI agent who is he's one of the Sons of Anarchy. That guy.
I thought so. I thought he looked familiar.
What he finds out is he tells him, I need you to run these books through your database that you're keeping probably illegally on what people are reading at the library. Even Brad Pitt questions that. He's like, really? This exists.
This
exists. He's like, this is, probably not great. A little Orwellian, right? But Morgan Freeman's like, well, you can't use it. It's not admissible in anything. You just use it as a guide. But they do get a hit. They get a hit on a guy that checked out all these books that they asked him to flag.
One in particular that came out was the St. Thomas of Aquinas. Aquinas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know anything about fucking saints. I know about the New Orleans Saints. That's about it.
But yeah, it leads them to somebody's door.
Yes.
John Doe's door.
Yep.
Yeah.
And John Doe's coming home from, picking up his groceries at Kroger. And he's got a long coat and a fedora. It's very, very, like, if this was in black and white, it'd look real good. Look really good.
Yeah.
It looks really good now, but it would look really good in black and white.
The whole movie would, yeah.
Yeah.
It would.
They're like, hey, here comes a guy. Looks like he's probably coming to the door that we're at. And then he opens fire on them. And this leads into a whole chase, pretty cool chase, through apartments, through alleys, through people outside the alley dumping stuff on him, on John Doe as he's running out, on the fire escapes and everything. And Brad Pitt is a little too, what's the word?
Aggressive?
No, a little too excited.
Yeah.
And gets jumped.
He's haphazard. Yeah.
He gets jumped, and basically, it looks as though he's going to get his head exploded.
Yeah.
But then the guy escapes.
He smashes him. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the face.
Well, and then he's on the ground. He puts the gun to his
because Brad
head.
Pitt is like a mess. His face is a mess for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It looks like he's been in a fight club.
Yes. Well, that's important later because that's only there to stoke that
Yep.
I've got the upper hand on you.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Mr. Cool Guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
But again, it's like, why would he let him live?
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's kind of another clue. It's a pretty obvious one that, again, he's just stringing these guys along.
Yeah.
But he didn't expect them there.
Right.
They actually did do something, some detection that was outside of the strings that they were being pulled on.
Right.
And it disrupted his plan.
Which everything is now going to be brought up faster.
Yeah, because while they're investigating his apartment and find his 2,000, he has a very large apartment with lots of rooms.
He does.
There's apartments aren't that big in New York.
Angeles.
Yeah. New Angeles.
But he calls John Doe, calls, and they're
Joe
looking
Don?
for,
Oh, well, first, before that, I like this. Like, Brad Pitt just wants to rush in. He's like, this fucker almost killed me. He smashed my face.
We've got probable cause. And he's like, no, you don't.
No, we don't. We need a reason to knock on this door. Think about how we got this information.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt doesn't care. Again, another clue. He just smashes the door and, acts first, thinks later.
And then he's like, I've got a plan.
Yeah. And they pay a homeless person to basically say that they tipped them
we
off.
saw this guy come and go all the time around the time of those killings.
Yeah.
And
right.
I called Detective Somerset. Yeah, Somerset. Yeah, that's it.
right, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that's and so then they get that, and then all the forensics, everybody is able to come in and they start taking a real close look at this apartment. They don't find any fingerprints.
No fingerprints.
And that's a good line, actually. Brad Pitt asks, "Have you found any fingerprints?" Oh no, the forensic says, "You won't believe this. We haven't found any fingerprints." And Brad Pitt's like, "You're right. I don't believe you. Keep checking."
Yeah.
Right. And that's good. I mean, that's you're right. That's kind of very, very strange. You better keep looking.
That's one of those times where you feel like, oh, Brad Pitt's learning.
Yeah. Right. And he is in a way learning. He is becoming a better detective by working with Morgan Freeman. But
he still,
he still has all the problematic aspects of his personality.
Well, it's
that are going to be to his detriment.
Yeah, he mentions like the whole thing about just because a guy's got a library card, it doesn't mean he's Yoda. Well, he is the Luke Skywalker here.
Yeah.
Like he's teetering between being a good detective or a bad cop.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. Absolutely. So, no, actually, this is the photographer. No, that was earlier. Or was it now? I can't remember.
No, the photographer is earlier.
Was it photographer? Because I have it in my notes.
No,
here.
because what they find is he sees all the pictures of all the people that have been killed.
Yeah.
They've also got cabinets of almost like their trophies.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I have the note here because he puts it together here.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like you got one cabinet that's got all the spaghetti sauce. You got one cabinet that's got the hand.
Yeah.
You've got one cabinet that is from the lawyer. I don't remember what his is. But then you've got the one cabinet. It's like, there's a blonde and there's a receipt from happy
the leather
the leathersmith. We'll just call him that.
But he's also got a picture of Pitt in the tub.
Yeah, so he goes in and he sees that's what Somerset's seeing. Meanwhile, Mills is in another room and he realizes, oh shit, we had him. And there's the pictures of the photog taking, like that he approached in the stairwell. And he's like, shit, we had him. It's like, that was him. But yet, and that's the thing. It's like, that's another thing about that scene with it's like, that is not uncommon for Somerset to see. He's like, yeah, these guys pay really well to get access to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just run these guys off. It's like you not realizing that that's his blind spot too, is that this guy is using the way things just are in the cynical world.
Yep.
But yeah, there's all sorts of like insane writings in these books about like how he just pukes on a guy in the subway that just wanted to be nice and have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And he just laughs at him. And it's like, oh my God, this is.
He says he says it would take 50 men working in shifts reading all these books. It would take them 2 months to read all the books. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you even see like in when they open some of the book, like how close the writing is. It's like it's just I mean, it'd probably be like reading In the Mouth of Madness. So it's like, God damn it, we had him, but we need to figure out what's going on with this leather guy and this woman. Who's this woman? Well, she looks like a pro.
Yeah.
And so
then they also have the phone call here.
Yeah, at this point he calls him up and he's like, so you've kind of messed up my schedule. I'm going to have to move the timetable up.
And I admire you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's important. And he's like, yeah, whatever, crazy idiot. You know, whatever he says. Yeah, I was like, whatever. Shut up.
Shut your mouth hole.
Yeah.
But he says his schedule's moved up now, so they decide to go investigate the leather shop, whatever it's called. And we don't.
While it's there, we find out that the guy takes a picture of his work.
Yeah.
He's like, you sold this to somebody? It's like, hey, yeah.
He's like, that's not even near the worst thing I've built for somebody.
We see later what he built. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's not the worst thing he's ever done. But anyway, they get a call. It's like, yeah, they found the
blonde.
And so like they leave and you take the picture with him. It's like, hey, the picture? Hey, are you gonna give me back my picture? I gotta show this off.
And then he's like, fucking pigs.
Yeah. So they go to a sex dungeon. This is the best name I have for it. It's downstairs. Yeah. And he there's a guy who's very, very upset and seemingly has a very large heart on.
I'll tell you what, this dude, the guy that acted this scene, looks like they made him do what he like. He looks terrified. Like, I'm like, he actually murdered somebody.
He's been in therapy ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what he had was like basically just a leather suit with a knife in his crotch.
A knife dildo.
Yeah.
And
I think that was
basically
I think that was Leland Orser, the actor. He's popped up in lots of stuff. He's he's one of those faces.
Yeah.
That shows up.
I recognized him, but I couldn't tell you from what.
I think funny enough, he was in one of the better knockoffs, 7 knockoffs that came out a few years later after this, Resurrection.
Yeah.
He was the partner of Christopher Lambert, I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
I own that movie.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do a 7 knockoff month and do it in July, the 7th month.
That's a good idea.
In 2027. Be here for it, guys. So
he's on all the Tooken movies too.
Tooken?
Yep.
Was he one of the Tookens?
I think he was maybe a partner of.
I don't believe any partner of Liam Neeson's lives through those movies.
Well, he's on all 3, and I don't think he's like the same Tooken guy. I don't remember those movies very well. They're very disposable.
Apparently, the new movie is really bad that Liam Neeson's in.
Well, he's got his own like brand of like geezer teaser going on.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically he was forced to cut this woman up completely.
Yeah.
And part of it was that he was married. He was in this club. The guy had a gun. So he was kind of forced into it. But yeah, that probably gets kind of sloppy around the law. Like if you're forced into it, like there's got to be some sort of consequence. But what? I don't know. But anyway, he's pretty upset. And now this is probably the worst of the crimes that have been committed.
Yeah.
Because now there's another innocent person that's been involved in this.
Innocent?
Well, the guy.
I'm just echoing a certain John Doe.
Oh,
yeah.
Nobody's innocent. None of the people that die in this movie are innocent. They've all done something to bring me to their door.
Oh, wait, that's from something else.
Yeah, it is. But But that's the whole John
Kevin
Doe.
Cusack.
Yeah, that's the whole John
Wasn't
Doe.
he in that Home Alone movie?
Yeah. So anyway, you're right. I mean, like, but certainly that guy did not deserve to be involved like this. This is a pretty bad crime. This is probably the worst of the four so far.
Maybe. I think the year for Sloth was probably pretty bad too.
Well, that's probably pretty bad, but yeah.
Let's just say they're all bad and not try to determine which one's worse.
I think pretty much death is final for everyone. Yeah.
Well, I want to gamify this, guys. I'm putting the lust one on top for now. For now.
For now.
Because we're about to get a 3-for-1 here.
Yeah.
Technically a 3-for-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a 2-for-1 with you got to go to the line and get that 3-point play.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, Somerset at this point has decided I got to stay on. I got to help Mills out to the end. And this is the only day that's sunny.
Yeah.
And they are walking into the police station, and a guy covered in blood is calling out for detectives.
Yeah.
And it's Kevin Spacey. And Brad Pitt immediately knows who it is and is like, what? It's draws his gun. Everybody rushes in and they arrest him. But Mills is the first person to say something's not right. This isn't over yet.
Right.
Because Somerset's like, this is the first time we've agreed on something.
Yeah.
All of this feels wrong.
Right, because Kevin Spacey's attorney, Kevin Spacey, or John Doe, has been cutting off his fingertips for years. That's why they can't find any fingerprints of him ever. Yeah. But also his attorney is saying...
That's hinted at in the opening credits, which is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
There's images of like real fast images of like someone like shaving their fingertips.
Yeah. He's also got 3 different bloods on him.
Yeah. 3.
One from his fingertips, one from Lust Lady.
Yep.
And one from unidentified.
Yep. Yeah.
And so he says after he gets arrested is, I would like to speak to my lawyer. And so the lawyer comes out and says, all right, and the lawyer looks shifty as fuck too.
Oh, for sure.
He's a lawyer.
Well, but he looks like a bat. He looks like
that's the way lawyers are presented in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Shady motherfuckers.
Yeah. And
because even the district attorney is a little shady.
Yeah.
And even like Kevin Spacey later says when he talks about the lawyers, like even you two are probably, happy I got rid of that guy, know? Yeah. The lawyer, the greed one.
Yeah.
So the lawyer says basically he's willing to sign a full confession, and he will take Mills and Somerset, and only Mills and Somerset, to the location of the final 2 victims.
Yep.
If you don't agree to this, my client is prepared to basically swear insanity.
Plead insanity, yeah.
Across the board. And Somerset's like, well, but wait a minute,
this conversation is admissible.
Yeah, and this is this is blackmail.
Right.
But there's a mix of, and it's like, there could be, but I don't think the public would like to know that the police didn't care about the last 2 victims.
Yep.
In order to get their man.
To me, I don't think the public of this burg cares much about anything.
Yeah, probably, maybe not.
And in fact,
they're probably caring more about when do the coupons to the sex dungeon expire than anything.
I mean, there's been a lot of lines in the movie that I think someone at one point says the problem with people is they don't care. We live in a place that nurtures and encourages apathy.
Mm-hmm. Because
Somerset says earlier, he says, you don't yell help.
You yell fire.
If you yell help, people won't come. You yell fire, they come running.
Right. To which
and
even
Brad
Mills
Pitt says,
that's fucked up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to me, like that kind of lawyer line doesn't ring super true.
But the selling point, I think, for Somerset is that there's other blood. because he's doubtful that there is another victim and they're being pulled into a trap again.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's unidentified blood, I think, is what leads him to agree to this whole thing.
And the whole decision, because like even Arlie Ermy is like, well, it's up to you, Mills.
Yeah.
And Mills needs that.
He wants it to end.
He wants the glory. Well, he wants the glory too.
Well, Mills, yeah.
Somerset, it's like, well, we probably should see this through.
Yeah.
Although I have reservations, this could be another trap. This guy is very smart.
Yep.
He's warned him this isn't going to end well, and he said if his head opens up and a UFO flies out, I want you to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Basically, like you need to be in the headspace that whatever happens, you need to remain calm.
Right. Well,
because he's seen his
Well, he's also said earlier, right before this, is that whatever you think of this guy, the monster that he is not going to impress you when you see him.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, this is not going to, none of this is going to end the way you think it is.
Yeah. There's no satiation here. Or like, you will not be happy with the ending.
Right. And so they decide, okay, well, we've got the coordinates. We're going to go drive out here to the middle of nowhere in whatever fucking state we're in now. This is probably Nevada for all we know. They drove from New Yorkopolis out to...
It's a 7-hour drive or something like that.
Right.
It's a long drive.
So, but the SWAT is going to follow them in the air. And so they get... the whole way there is just this excellent back and forth between Mills and John Doe.
And Morgan Freeman.
Well, Morgan Freeman puts in a little bit, but he's more observing.
His reaction, like facial reactions to what, like he's piecing shit together in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole time is Mills is just he's trying to intimidate, and he's trying to, he keeps calling the guy crazy. It's like, do you guys all sit around, and I can't remember what he says. It was fucking
Do you
gross.
look in the mirror and realize how fucking crazy you are?
Yeah, but there's one point, it's like, basically, do you all like masturbate to...
Masturbating into your own feces and think, wow, I'm fucking crazy?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
the answer is
you
no.
have seen this a lot.
Yeah.
No, and the thing is that Kevin Spacey does not think he is crazy. He's been put upon to do this.
Right. He has a gun to his head too. He's like one of the victims.
And
Yes,
to which
he thinks he's doing God's work essentially.
Yeah, to which
your first clue is crazy, but
right, well, but then that's where Somerset's trying to get information. It's like, so if you think you
couldn't enjoy this,
right?
Yeah.
If you thought
if your hand was forced, you shouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
essentially, yeah.
Right, because he is talking about the enjoyment he is getting from this, and he's written about like the whole laughing at the guy that he puked on in the subway.
Yes,
so it's like obviously he's trying to find the inaccuracies, but Brad Pitt's just hammering away.
Yes, but John Doe's final needle before the end is like, hey man, the only reason you're here is because I let you live. And he's just trying to rile him up a bit.
Yeah, I want
succeeding.
You to remember that every time you look at your messed up face.
Yep.
Or whatever he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I could have killed you then. And this would have gone on forever, or whatever. So he's like, pull up over here. They pull up next to an abandoned trailer, to which Somerset or somebody, or I think it's might be John C. McGinley who says it's like, there's no ambush here. We'll just pull back a little bit, go a little higher. There's a fucking thing there that there could be a bunch of crazies in.
Yes, there could
but
be.
It could be hills have eyes.
I was going to say there could be hill people in there.
Yeah.
They also, this specific position was chosen because there's lots of wires and the helicopter won't be able to successfully navigate through there. So they have to kind of back off a little bit.
Yeah.
They have to back off and go above everything. So it's like, all right, well, there's nothing here. Great. And he's like, well, what time is it? It's like, it's 7:01. Oh, it's close.
Yeah.
And here comes the truck. This poor bastard.
Yeah.
This poor son of a bitch. But so it's like, whoa, we got somebody coming. It's like, what's this? So Morgan Freeman rushes over to the car, drives up to the guy, the guy's like, hey man, I was only paid $500 to deliver this at 7 p.m. He's like, huh, all right.
Well, you're late.
Yeah, right. One, you're late. But then, yeah, it's like, he's like, all right, get out of here. Beat cheeks, get out of here.
California's like, it's a box. We need a bomb squad. And Morgan Freeman's like, I think I'm going to open it. But
yeah, he's like, man, because the gears are turning, and you can tell that Somerset, maybe for the first time, doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah, and he's kind of wringing his hands.
Yeah, and he's looking back, and he's seeing, Brad Pitt's got Kevin Spacey at gunpoint. He's like, man, I don't know. And he even says that. It's like, I don't know. And he's like tortured over. He's like, I think I need to open it. And then he opens it. It's like, oh, we got blood. And then he opens it. He's like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, shit. Oh, no.
And immediately he's like, California, don't come in here.
No matter what you hear, stay away.
John Doe has the upper hand.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And, because even California's like what ends up happening here even breaks the cynicism of California. Like like everything breaks here. But also during all of this, John Doe is talking to Mills, and there's this music that, like, just this droning, like this is bad. Yeah, this is fucking tense. And he's talking to us like, when I said I envied you, or that I was not lying. I meant
admire.
It.
When I said I admired you.
I wasn't lying. I meant it. And he's like, shut up. Shut up. And then, then Morgan Freeman comes back with the box.
Well, he left it.
He left the box.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
But he's running over, and he's yelling at Mills, like drop your gun.
Get away.
Go
away.
Gun.
Yeah.
Get away.
Don't listen to him and drop your gun, basically.
Yes. Which I don't even think Mills can really hear him.
Well, yeah, because he keeps saying, what? Yeah, he's, and meanwhile, John Doe is explaining,
he is envy.
Yeah.
He is envy, and I want what you have. I tried to play daddy or husband. It didn't work out. And now I have her pretty little head in a box.
I took a souvenir.
Yes.
Her pretty little head.
And she even, and then she even begged for the life of her and her unborn child. To which, because like even Morgan Freeman tries to hit him.
Yeah.
To shut him up. And he's like, oh, he didn't know.
That's so good.
The delivery of that in his face, like, man, it's chilling.
Yeah. And he's like, you can't, and like Brad Pitt's destroyed at this point. And he's like, because it's important to know.
There's a look of satisfaction in Kevin Spacey's face when he says he didn't know, because he knows he's won now.
Yeah.
It's like, he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and the thing is, it's important
he's
also
going
because
to become Wrath.
Yeah.
It was mentioned earlier that it's like there was something very unusual about Tracy and David's relationship. They were high school sweethearts. And so, and it's like, this is his whole life, basically.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that she was pregnant. She's now dead. He's trying hard to hang on. And then he shoots him.
Yep.
And then, you hear California is like, oh God, he shot him. Like he's not even sure. Like, this is everything that these cops seem to almost like dream that they could do to a villain.
Right.
And when they see it happen, it's like, oh my God. Like, this is bad. I mean, we can't, and then he just keeps shooting him. And so basically, he becomes Wrath, and his life is now basically over.
Yep.
You wonder in Murderville, because the one police chief, Richard Roundtree, but Arlie Ermey says, we'll take care of him. You wonder what that means. Like, are they going to figure out a way to spin the whole thing to where it was an act of self-defense or something?
Well, it could be we'll spin this.
I mean, obviously Brad Pitt is broken.
Right.
There's no fixing Brad Pitt, but you wonder.
It could be that.
There'll be a cover-up here, I feel.
There could be a cover-up. There could be a, he'll get his pension.
Because the other thing, too, is John Doe in the car, he's telling them, people will talk about this.
Yeah.
Like this will
and you'll be famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you wonder again there too is like, look, man, we probably do need to cover this up. People shouldn't know about this, right?
Yeah.
Because he's right. It can break the world.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
What's interesting too is that this movie is about the 7 deadly sins, but you needed a virtue for the whole plan to work because Morgan Freeman could not lie
Yeah.
to Mills at the end is the whole reason that this ends this way. Like if he had just lied to him and said, no, there's nothing in the box. Like maybe this doesn't happen, but he can't bring himself to that.
Well, and he can't even hide it in his face.
Right.
I mean, like the whole, I mean, because the thing is what happens. Well, because see, here's the other thing is that there's a pragmatism here too, right? If I lie to him now, he's going to find out when he goes home.
Right.
You know, that she's gone. There's no, like, I think he's already worked out. It's like, I just got to tell him and hope he does the right thing. He knows he's not going to. He knows he's not going to, though. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, this is an end that is oft repeated. It is something that is shocking. I was telling Chuck before you got here, Jason, that I didn't see this in the theater.
I didn't either.
I saw it 6 months later on video.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the ending.
I didn't either.
You know, we live in a time where like, if you didn't see Spider-Man in 3 weeks, it's too late. It's going to be ruined for you by memes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're going to know that all the other Spider-Men show up.
Right.
You know, and this, you didn't know the ending of this for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so when it came, I mean, I was like, this is the kind of ending that is edge of your seat. Like I invested.
Yeah. I mean, I watched this with somebody who'd never seen it, and watching and hearing the gears, like, or everything fall into place, like the locking mechanism open, and like, they're like, oh no. What are the last 2 sins again? Oh no.
Yeah.
So this is where I want to talk about Kevin Spacey, because a month before this movie came out, The Usual Suspects came out.
Yeah.
And The Usual Suspects, I don't think did real well on its initial run. And not a lot of people had seen it when 7 had come out. And everybody saw 7, right? But it's interesting that they go out of their way to hide Kevin Spacey until the end. And I don't know exactly why, because he wasn't a very recognizable actor at the time. He had only been in a few things.
But I would argue
they hide his name from the opening credits,
and it's the first thing you see in the credits. I chalk that up to he takes over the movie. Like, he is the driving force of this movie.
Yeah.
You only see him for like 15 minutes, but he is the movie.
Sure. But it's interesting. I would like to understand, if The Usual Suspects in any way, shape, or form, the production of that movie informed the storytelling of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I would
Because to me, if people had seen Usual Suspects in mass,
it would kind of ruin it, right?
To see Kevin Spacey's name and then not see him until the end of the movie, but see him in the credits, you would start to wonder.
Right.
Right.
Although I don't know. I mean,
I feel like they probably ADR'd his voice in the cameraman scene too.
It's him though. You can hear him.
I know, but
is the actor, is the guy physically there actually him?
Oh, I think so, but it's real hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does try to mask his voice a little bit in that scene, not terribly
Hey,
well.
pal.
Yeah, it's not him. He's not.
I don't know.
It's
Dennis
not
Miller
just him
showed up.
talking normally, at least.
Yeah.
But I saw Usual Suspects first because I saw that on video. I did not see it in a theater either, but I saw that on video first, and then I saw 7. So I was very grateful that they did kind of excise any image of him or his name from the movie until you see him on screen, right? because yes, to me that would have probably been a tip off that there's this big twist with Kevin Spacey coming, right?
Yeah.
I get annoyed now, I was going to say, because I brought this up earlier. When you read about Seven now, it just lists the movie. Like, it's like Morgan Freeman, retiring detective, Brad Pitt, new detective, chasing serial killer, Kevin Spacey. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You can't do this to people that want to, like, if you watch this movie for the first time, you wouldn't want that ruined for you.
Yeah.
It's not even really a twist necessarily. I mean, the end is a twist.
It's a reveal.
But the fact that it's him is not really that big a deal. But still, it was like,
well, there was a mystery to it all.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, Kevin Spacey had been around for a while.
Sure. I mean, he'd been in big movies. I mean, he'd done Hear No Evil, See No Evil. He was a bad guy in that.
Well, I wouldn't call that a big movie, but I mean,
wasn't there a woman?
I mean,
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a woman.
I wouldn't call it a big movie either, but that's a popular movie.
That's what we're talking about, right? The Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder. Okay.
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, true.
Swimming with Sharks was that after?
Sharks was before this, and The Ref.
Yeah.
We're probably this, but mostly kind of like comedies,
and
right?
then Jim Baker.
Yeah, I guess. I'm sure the whole world saw that. Yeah.
Well, probably in 1990. Yeah, probably.
But
that shit was fresh.
But these, you're right. None of these were big. None of these were big movies.
Right.
Mostly kind of indie productions.
Yeah.
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 I don't know. We talked about how this movie is not a ton of fun. There is some comedy reprieve. I wouldn't call it comedy. Just like,
well, there are
light laughs.
moments of levity.
But I think the storytelling in this is just like perfect.
Yeah, that's
what I love about this movie. It's not that I enjoy seeing people die and all the brutality and all the cynicism, but the way that it's told is just, to me, like perfection.
Yeah, it's a good noir story. It's very well told. It's a very well made movie. I mean, everything the movie wants to accomplish, it accomplishes. It's just thematically so fucking depressing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the cynicism of this movie, and even the final line is cynical.
Oh yeah, the Hemingway said that the world is a fine place and worth fighting for. I agree with the second part.
Yeah, that implies that Somerset is he's gonna keep at it. He's gonna keep plugging away at solving crimes and trying to make the world a better place. But he still doesn't even believe that what he's doing is going to make a difference.
Right.
To me, it's like what's the arc there? What did he actually learn? He just saw the world get worse. So what really changed that he's going to keep up the fight?
Well, I think that's just his whole. I think that's where he was at the beginning. I mean, it's like
essentially, Arlie Ermy was right. He's like, you can't give this up,
right? Because he kept saying, "I'm going to be far away from here. That's what I'm going to do." And at the end, when he's asked, he's like, "I'll be around."
Yeah. And I mean, it's there is that little hint that he still has something that he stands for. It's unfortunate that he's one of those types of guys who has to be in the muck in order for it to, he has to see it all, the bad stuff, to try to make some sort of a difference. But yeah, it's a losing battle, and it's a bummer. But I mean, I think that it's just as interesting of a study of, probably what detectives who work in big cities that see this sort of shit, and it rains every day, and it's a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, it rains a lot in this movie. Whew. But yeah, I mean, this is a movie that knew exactly what it wanted to be, and it wasn't even trying to be light and, fun. And that's fine. It's fine. It's not a movie that I want to watch every day.
No, I probably watch this movie once every 3 or 4 years, maybe, but I always love it.
Yeah. It's engaging and it's really engrossing. It's what a good mystery and thriller should do.
Yeah.
And you worry about it, and you see, even knowing now how it ends, you're still wrapped up in it.
Yeah, the one last thing I want to bring up too, because Jason, you mentioned this last night that you didn't think Brad Pitt's character is very likable, and he's not. And I think if he was, this movie would suck.
Well,
Like it would have been way too heavy for me at the end if I
think he's also a character that gets worse. Like there's a homophobia to him.
yeah.
There's he's even worse in 2022 than he was when this movie came out. And I think that was a little shocking to me as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, also, it's like I don't think you were supposed to really like him.
Right.
He's the ultimate victim at the end, but he is.
I don't think he's he's Wrath. He's been chosen. He is not innocent. That is the whole point of
Well,
Kevin.
sure, but he does have something terrible happen to him with losing his wife, and the future that because having that baby maybe would have changed his outlook, maybe would have changed his job. He maybe would have left like they wanted to. Like his life is totally fucked at this point, and he has to live through it.
Yep.
But
it's also John Doe proves a point. He proves the point that he made in the car that these are all bad people.
Yeah.
Right. And they deserve to die. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Brad Pitt, Mills, he makes good on that by killing him. Like he's not just becoming Wrath. He's exemplifying the entire point of this exercise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The only argument that I don't think Spacey could defend, and you can't kill people. You shouldn't kill people, right? But killing Gwyneth Paltrow, she's the real only true innocent, right? Like I don't think he could provide a reason that she needed to die.
Right. What was her sin, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good stuff. I like it.
yeah,
Did we did it?
I think we did it.
I think so.
What's next?
Well, so this was our middle chapter of a three act thriller scenario here,
Yeah, just by chance.
just by chance. Well, and it's also three really good directors. Last week, of course, we had Nolan. This week we have Fincher. Next week we have Brian De Palma coming back.
Yeah. We like Brian De Palma on these parts.
and around these parts, yeah. And it's going to be Blowout with John Travolta. Hey, Mr. Cotter.
Hey, Mr. Cotter.
Hey, I listened to what I heard on this thing here. It's a blowout.
That's like if John Travolta was a Muppet.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's pretty much all my impersonation.
Pretty much. If it was a Muppet. Yeah. That's fair. I like that.
I like it too.
Yeah. So anyway, Blowout is next Wednesday. It's kind of funny because 7 is episode 216. If we'd have switched Blowout and 7, it would have been 27.
Oh.
That's too many sevens.
Well, and last month we did episode 210 happened on 29.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Crunching some numbers over.
Yeah, I know. That's what I do. I am not well. Anyway, so so that's next Wednesday at filmseizure.com. Follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's where you're going to find out when things happen.
Yeah.
And then you can also subscribe to us on places like SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, Audible, YouTube, other places.
Any place you can find.
But mostly, Google and Apple Podcasts. Yeah, that's that's a good place to subscribe to us. Also on Film Seizure, I do a thing called Monster Mondays. Next Monday is Horror Express.
Oh, good.
Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing and Telly Savalas, who fucking steals that movie all over the place.
And a thawing monster.
Oh, and a thawing monster. It's a good flick. It's a real good flick. So check that out. Same places that I just mentioned that you can find the Film Seizure program. This Friday on my website, bmovieenema.com, I have Mean Johnny Burroughs. That is a Fred Williamson flick that he also directed. It's good stuff.
Interesting.
About a guy who comes back from Nam and struggles a little bit to fit back in, but decides to take up a life of fighting the mob. Anyway, good stuff. I should also mention that probably sometime this weekend, also on Film Seizure, have the Film Seizure at the Movies Oscar special, since the Oscars are this Sunday. So,
all right.
Anyway, so look for that, all those normal places. And until next week, I am Lust.
I am Envy.
And I am Jason Oliver. And you have been listening to Film Seizure.